can you tell this is going to be a salty episode already? Like, whenever the patriarchy is in our crosshairs, it's game over. So speaking of which, can we talk about how Glamour described Brooke as being in her fuck it era? Because I feel that in my deep soul.
But I love that, she says it's not just about throwing your hands up. It's about realizing that what you have to say has value. And as we unlearn the societal conditioning we've been raised with, the good girl myth, we realize it's time to say the things that we've been keeping inside. We've been pushing all these things down for fear of creating conflict or disappointing someone or making someone feel bad, etc. Barf.
I always have where's the barf emoji when I need it?
Right. Welcome to Drinks with the Girls. Conversations for women over 40 around connection, change, and the power of female friendship. Living well with stories to tell. I'm Karen, and this is Lisa.
We are moms and solopreneurs stepping into our own, diving into real conversations about things that matter to women in midlife.
We're here to spill the tea on everything that affects women in their 40s and beyond. Topics like loss and grief, changing relationships, launching kids, menopause, and reinventing ourselves in midlife. We are here to tackle it all.
Connect with us through a blend of our lived experiences, our friendship, the memory of our moms, plus a collection of real stories, honest conversations, and engaging interviews that will make women over 40 feel seen and remind them that they're not alone on this journey called life. Let's go.
Welcome back to Drinks with the Girls. Lisa and I are here, drinks in hand, and today we're diving into a book that had us nodding, highlighting, and let's be honest, yelling, yes, thank you, Brooke.
Girl, I'm so excited to talk about this book. The book we're talking about is called Brooke Shields is Not Allowed to Get Old by Brooke Shields. And let me tell you, she is saying all the things we've been thinking and frankly saying out loud about aging, confidence, reinvention, and why midlife women refuse to be invisible. And we're secretly, not really, so secretly, sorry, not so sorry, hoping she finds this podcast episode and gives us a comment or two because, oh my God, she's our people.
And I have to be full transparency. When I first started reading the book, and I hope this doesn't make her not want to comment on it, but I was I had a really hard time getting into it. I wasn't engaged in the beginning, but man, once I got into it, I was in hook, line, and sinker.
Yep.
Before we really dive in, y'all know the drill. Lisa, what are you drinking?
I'm still boring and I still hate it, but I am going on. Tomorrow will be starting week 3 of the fabulous flu. And I'm just not really daring to do anything real exciting. So it's pretty much what I've been drinking for 2 weeks now, my immunity fizz and sport cocktail, because I'm just trying to shove every bit of goodness I can in my poor little body. But someday, by God, someday, I'm sure you're drinking something much more exciting.
Dude, that flu that's going around is no joke. It's hit our house. Tony was wiped out all of January pretty much. And everybody I talk to, it's
nuts.
Taking people down.
It's weeks. And my doctor was like, yeah, so about the flu shot. I was like, hello. She said it totally missed the boat.
I knew it.
I know. But she's like, don't feel so bad because if you hadn't gotten it, it probably would have been worse. I'm like, well, I don't know how much worse it could have been. It was like COVID level, but whatever. Anyways, I'm going to stop whining now because I'm excited to talk about this book.
And I know you're excited to know what I'm drinking too. But
I asked
what I'm
you.
Drinking, you did? I missed it.
Then we got distracted.
I was so focused on my newfound excitement about Brooke. Actually, it's not newfound. I've always been a fan. Always, always, always. I mean, come on, Blue Lagoon.
I know, seriously.
But I am drinking a homemade concoction, which is not very exciting, but it's basically just club soda and pure pomegranate juice. And what I do is I put it in a fancy wine glass that actually my daughter-in-law gave me for Christmas, right?
Nice.
And it makes me feel like I'm drinking something fancy schmancy, but it's not.
You know what?
Club soda and pomegranate.
I'm drinking my fabulous water bottle. Oh, and I haven't talked about the sticker that I have on the podcast. So Karen can see it, but obviously you can't. It says, which I love, it's in this really pretty script writing. And it's this shadow, a woman's outline. And it says, a wise woman once said, fuck this shit and lived happily ever after.
Word.
Yes, totally. Okay.
All right, let's
do
get
this.
into it. Let's start with this little reality check from the book. Women over 40 are running the economy, right? We make up 85% of household buying decisions. And yet, marketers still act like we disappear after 35.
Yeah, I have done me some marketing in my time. I mean, I'm not a marketer, but it's been adjunct to kind of what I do on my day job and now kind of, what anybody has to do when you're an entrepreneur for a long time now. And this shocked me, but it kind of didn't in a lot of ways because every ad you see still chases that 18 to 34 demographic that everybody thinks is like, gold of El Dorado or wherever it is, right? Like they're out there making major financial decisions. Spoiler alert, they're not. They're living with their parents and struggling to make ends meet with a dozen roommates. Like Karen has talked about how rough it's been for her daughter just in terms of making her way in the world. So look, I love that generation, but they are not the economic engine of society. Let's be real.
Right. But let's just put a little caveat in there. Yes, all the marketing is going to that younger demographic, except all the anti-aging products.
Yeah, we'll
all
get
the
into
beauty
that.
products that do not want us to get older.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, to your point, we are the ones investing. We're the ones buying the houses. We're the ones putting the kids through college, keeping the brands afloat. And what do they show us? Depends and wrinkle cream. Like we're a problem to fix.
That they should be used together, clearly. But the other thing that kills me is, this idea that if you look at the ads are on TV, like my husband and I play a game all the time because he's so like naive and he's always like, really? That's what they're trying to do? I'm like, oh yeah, it's so obvious. He's like, I don't get it. But at any rate, what it thinks that midlife women are interested in and what we're actually interested in are miles apart, because if you believe that nonsense, men are still allowed to have a vibrant sex life with a full head of hair, but women are depressed, fat, and need to be protected from anti-aging at all costs. Oh, and bladder leaks too. That's another one.
Brooke makes such a good point about how midlife women are one of the fastest growing demographics in the country. 1 in 4 women is over 50, but the world still treats us like we're invisible.
Yeah, but the joke's on them because if there's one thing we know how to do, it's to make ourselves heard. This next part, it shook me. I'm going to be honest. And she quotes research that shows between the ages of 8 and 14, girls' confidence drops by 30%. And we don't even catch up to men's confidence levels until around 50, if we ever do. I have been living this the last few years. My daughter is 14. I've watched this unfold in real life, and it's just about broken me into watching the world bring her down the way it has. So I completely believe that stat. It's awful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, we've all lived it.
Mm-hmm.
And now you get to watch it again in your daughter.
Yeah.
Right. And this isn't a surprise, is it really? Because society sets it up this way. Society does not want women in their power. And how do they make sure we're not empowered? They start early. They get to us when we're girls. So they write the rules for us that have us believing we aren't allowed to be who we want, whatever that means for each of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just wrote a blog post about this called The Good Girl Myth, Why Midlife Women Are No Longer Buying It. It's on my website. Check it out. Society tells us that our value as girls and women is wrapped up in being quiet, staying small, being accommodating, being pretty, just ask Brooke, and being a good girl. And I had a lot to say on this topic. So head to my website, check it out. Learn if you're following the good girl myth and what you can do about it. But I think it's interesting because Brooke talks about a lot of these points in the book.
Yeah, we may need to do a podcast episode on that.
Hell yeah.
This is another thing I love. Brooke talks about how confidence has been co-opted into this idea of swagger, when it's actually about believing in your capabilities and resilience, right? It's not about like fake it till you make it. So to quote another queen, Demi Lovato, what's wrong with being confident? Like, why is it a bad thing to be confident? I don't get that.
No, men are allowed to be confident, but women,
that's right. Silly me.
What happens when women are confident? They're a bitch, right? And also, like, part of confidence is knowing that you can handle whatever comes your way. And honestly, midlife is when you really start to feel that.
Yeah, listeners, can you tell this is going to be a salty episode already? Like, whenever the patriarchy is in our crosshairs, it's game over. So speaking of which, can we talk about how Glamour described Brooke as being in her fuck it era? Because I feel that in my deep soul,
your deep soul.
my deep soul.
You know, but I love that, she says it's not just about throwing your hands up. It's about realizing that what you have to say has value. And as we unlearn the societal conditioning we've been raised with, the good girl myth, we realize it's time to say the things that we've been keeping inside. We've been pushing all these things down for fear of creating conflict or disappointing someone or making someone feel bad, etc. Barf.
Yeah, it's about stepping into your own pet. Is that an emoji? Yeah, it is. I always have, like, where's the barf emoji when I need it?
Right.
Hey there, I'm Lisa Corachella McDowell, your midlife Pacific Northwest princess, here to guide you in the art of next leveling your life. I'm passionate about women's health and wellness in midlife, especially for moms parenting kids with unique needs like I do. I truly believe we can learn, grow, advocate, and care for the planet while taking care of ourselves and our families. And I'd love to help you do the same. Plus, I'm beyond excited to announce the launch of my new membership, the Empowered Parent Collective, this March. It's a space for parents to confidently advocate for their kids, build inclusive communities, educate themselves, and find balance and support along the way. To find out more about the Empowered Parent Collective, my classes, wellness offerings, parenting tips, advocacy resources, and exclusive Drinks with the Girls goodies, head to nextlevellifewithlisa.com. Let's survive and thrive in the messy middle together. Cheers. It's about stepping into your own power. And honestly, that shift can be a shock to the people around you. I know Brooke mentions how when you evolve, whether it's in your marriage, friendships, or even how you parent, people don't always see it coming. I mean, I'm not going to pretend to understand what leads a particular couple to divorce, but I have to believe that if one partner evolves and one stays the same, that's going to have an impact.
What we talked about in the beginning of the podcast, girls' confidence when they're young are basically in the shitter, right? And so over time, we build it and we grow. And I think it really starts growing after we hit 40, because that's when we really get into our fuck it era. I don't give a fuck era. But men's confidence stays the exact same. Like, men just start out confident and they just stay at the same level, where women are growing and evolving and changing and becoming more confident, right? She talked about this in her marriage. Like,
With Andre Agassi.
she became more self-assured, became more confident. It created kind of some problems in not necessarily just her marriage with Andre, but her second marriage as well, because she's speaking up.
Yep.
And I mean, yeah, my ex-husband was probably like, wait, what happened to the girl that I married? The girl who didn't say things, who was low maintenance, quote unquote, who, didn't rock the boat. Because it was about when I hit my 40s that I realized, you know what? I have been pushing myself down, who I really am, the things I want to say, just to keep the peace, just to make sure nobody's disappointed in me. We could go down a whole
See episode on divorce and dating.
Also, Brooke points out that when we hit our 40s and 50s, we also realize we don't need men in the same way that we did when we were younger.
Mm.
So much of men's persona is wrapped up in like taking care of women.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're all of a sudden more independent and speaking up and owning our truth, we're not needing them as much, then I think this creates a little bit of a identity crisis for them. Yeah, when you start prioritizing yourself after decades of putting everyone else first, people lose their shit. They don't know what the fuck to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's pretty much like, wait, why aren't you being the same self-sacrificing version of yourself that I'm used to? And we're over here like, because she's gone. She
left the building.
She is out. And there's a lot of people that do not like it. I am kind of experiencing this a little bit right now with my family. And people that have taken advantage of that before absolutely do not like it. We're like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that anymore.
And I think too, Brooke says that her validation doesn't come from outside anymore. It comes from valuing herself. And I think this translates into women in their 40s and 50s speaking up.
Yeah, for sure. That's the goal, right? So this next part had me literally sitting up and underlining like crazy. She brings up this stat that just blew me away. For men, 50 is the lowest point in the happiness U curve, right? So this idea of like, if life is a giant U, the nadir of their lives is in their 50s. I'll let Karen respond to that, but I'm telling you that I nearly lost it.
I mean, it's wild because we've been fed this narrative about irrelevant 50-year-old women. And wait, men are actually the ones struggling?
Is that just the ultimate gaslight? Wait a minute. We think we're the ones struggling and it's actually not us? What if this is the patriarchy's way of keeping us in line? Like, make us think we're struggling to keep us in line. I mean, my God, it's just diabolical.
Like some reverse psychology, mental judo type stuff. I mean, no, I think women are actually struggling. I mean, men may be struggling in their own right, but I think women are struggling. I mean, there's statistic when women hit perimenopause and menopause, the incidence of depression and anxiety increase. I mean, thank you, hormones. We're not going to talk about that. But I think, women are used to this fight. Like we've been fighting for our identity for our whole lives. People have been telling us, who to be, what to wear, what to say, what not to wear, what not to say, forever. And so this is the battle that we've been in. Whereas maybe, men are getting to this stage and they're struggling with like other things, but like we are seasoned warriors.
I just think when you get to that point, your give a damn is busted. And she talks about that too. Like, I think that that's kind of what her point is. Like when, Glamour talked about her being in her fuck it era, it's like, I literally don't have any fucks left to give. Like the things that kept me down before, I just don't care. I mean, to me, that's the point.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think we get to this point with this stage, and not only do we have the wisdom that comes with age, right? We also are clued into what societal standards have been for us and how it's bullshit. A lot of us get to this age and we're like, fuck that. I'm going to be who I want in my next chapter. Yet we've spent decades, literally decades, navigating everyone else's needs, sacrificing, putting ourselves on the back burner for everyone else. And as parents and partners, whatever, we do it willingly, gladly. We love our people, right? But by midlife, we're finally asking, what do I want? I mean, another powerful point, Brooke cites research showing that as we hit our 40s, 50s, and 60s, our biggest regrets aren't from the things we did, but they're from the things we didn't do.
Yeah. That one also hit me hard. How many times do women talk themselves out of something, right? A new career, a passion project, or even just taking a damn break?
Too many. I mean, I work with women who don't want to have these regrets. For me, regret is worse than failure. And my barometer is always, well, it has not always been, but since I've hit my 40s, my mid 40s, my barometer is always the regret. When I'm on my deathbed, will I regret not doing this thing that I want to do, this thing that my intuition is telling me, this little, niggle that I have? Niggle, is that a word?
It is.
That I have.
Niggling.
Niggling. There it is, niggling. I mean, that's how I made the decision to move here to 3 acres, move away from everybody I knew, everybody I loved.
And spoiler alert, it's been amazing. And now you're looking for a different dream. But guess what? That's okay. And you would have never known that if you haven't done the damn thing.
Yes.
I mean, if you try and it doesn't work out, at least you've tried. But if you never start, that's brutal.
My name is Karen Shatafian, and I am a shameless coffee addict and empowerment coach for women, and my love language is authenticity. My mission is helping women unapologetically design a life they're in love with. Because what the hell are we waiting for? My website, KarenShatafian.com, has all my coaching packages and free offers like my midlife reclamation guide. In it, you'll find tools to help you decide how to create the most inspired and empowered version of yourself and your life. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram talking about ways women can show up for themselves after decades of showing up for everyone else. Join me as we throw off the shackles and live our best freaking lives. See the show notes for all the details. Cheers.
We say this ad nauseum on this podcast. I feel like people are so sick of hearing it. But honestly, if we'd given into our fears and just the reality of what it takes to launch a podcast, it never would have happened. And here we are.
Yes, here we are. And Brooke also talks about I love how we talk about Brooke like she's our bestie.
I know. We want her to be our bestie. Brooke, if you're listening,
we do.
Throw a sister a bone.
But she also talks about how even now, women in male-dominated spaces, and I know you know what this is like, Lisa.
I do.
But they still have to play the game. And it's ironic because I was just talking to a woman yesterday about this. She is a fire chief. And she was telling me a story about something that happened at work, and it's the fire department. So it's a super male-dominated, macho, bro culture work environment, right? And I don't want to betray any privacy, but basically she spoke up in a room full of men And she had to raise her voice. Like she had to be this strong persona, right? To get through to the people who were dismissing her decisions. They were, they were not liking what she had to say, which is hard enough in itself. But then she had someone come to her later and say, "Oh yeah, I heard about that meeting. I heard you got heated." And I'm thinking in my mind, like, yeah, fucker, she got heated because no one was listening because she's a woman in this male dominated, zone. And guess what? You never would have said that to a male counterpart. He never would have come up to a bro and said, "Hey, dude, I heard you got really heated." No. And
Mhm.
so I told her, I'm like, you just can't win because either you're soft spoken and you get walked on, and you're not taken seriously, or you speak up forcefully, you demand to be heard and they think you're being emotional or heated. Fires me up.
Brooke's take on this is that alpha males don't want to hear your counterpoints or your anger. So
Mm.
she talks about taking a more nuanced approach, not that she approves of it, but just what she's had to do to get things done. And, letting them start with the win and then maneuvering the conversation where she wants it to go, which honestly for me makes complete sense and irritates the living shit out of me at the same time.
Like in my personal life, in my relationship, I kind of have, PTSD around this, and Tony pays the ultimate price. But whenever we're in a discussion or a debate or we have conversations where we are not agreeing, my voice level goes to a 10 real quick because I will, capital will, be heard. And also, I don't have the patience to manage someone else's ego at this stage of my life.
This is why we have Tony and Martin, because frankly, at this point, we need partners, not power struggles.
Absolutely. Can we just talk for a minute about how many times Brooke was dismissed by, different parts of society in this book? I mean, and even being Brooke fucking Shields.
Which she talks about. She talks about,
right?
She's just like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. And at one of the points she said, I even get sick of myself or something about it. Listeners, if you have not read this book, we highly recommend it. Like she's so real and vulnerable and honest. Like you feel like you would just want to go, belly up to the bar and have a beer with her. But
she does not take herself seriously at all. She's
yes.
both aware of the power of her image and doesn't give a crap about it at the same time. It's a great.
And the ironic piece is, we all watched her, from the outside, watched her in her career and all that, and just gorgeous, like just being this beautiful person. And she struggled with her self-confidence. Like she still struggled, like we all do. We hear that. Just because you're a supermodel doesn't necessarily mean you're the most confident person in the room.
She talks about this in the book, and I thought this was super powerful. And she said this is actually a friend, and she was talking about she's always had issues with her feet. They've just given her problems for various reasons. And the friend kind of said, "Well, what? Did God get to your feet and just say, 'Fuck it, I give up'?" And she kind of like she laughed, but at the same time, she's like, it's kind of a backhanded, not so much compliment, right? And I'm sure, and she does talk about this idea that people just kind of excuse that. Oh, basically this idea, well, why do you have problems? You're Brooke fucking Shields. So she gets into that whole piece.
Yeah, no, there's so many layers to this book and so many things that I just think all women, you'll be able to find at least a few nuggets in here that you can relate to. But it just really fires me up in a bad way how much that she has been dismissed in her lifetime by the medical community. And she's actually been abused by them. Like I didn't know that story, and I don't want to spoil it, but I had no idea. I was fucking speechless. Yeah, not only has she been dismissed by the medical community, she's definitely been abused by them, and she's been dismissed by Hollywood and regular people. Did you like that dude in the wine cellar? Do you remember that little Jen?
Okay, you have to tell me the details because I confess I've forgotten all the details, but I remember thinking, what the, when I read it. So just remind me and tell our listeners again.
No, you finished the book way before I did. So yes. So it was in her chapter on sex and the middle-aged woman, men, marriage, and the male gaze. So she's at a party. It's a mutual friend's house. So she's at this party, and this guy, he's recently divorced, and he has this amazing wine cellar. So her husband is really into wine. So she's like, well, let me see what you have down here. And so they're talking about wine, and he makes the comment first, kind of relating, fine wine, just gets better as you age or whatnot. And she drops the bombshell that she's 59. And he said, "Oh man, you really shouldn't have told me that." And basically, she was, and she talks about
That's
so
right.
many situations in this book where she's shocked by what people say. And that good girl conditioning, that's our go-to because that's what we know, right? So automatically, she doesn't want to say something rude. She doesn't want to be like, "Well, what do you mean by that?" Or she doesn't want to get into it, like create a conflict, right? But she's having this internal struggle about it. So she was kind of in shock. And then she said that his demeanor just like entirely changed after that and made it kind of uncomfortable moving forward. She says it made him feel ancient and maybe irrelevant and maybe even somehow disappointed in me to hear that I could have aged all these decades.
My Lord.
Right? The implication was that I should keep my vintage a secret or be ashamed that I have the audacity to be almost 60 because that meant I could no longer be the dream girl or have sex appeal. I just, again,
It's
so
kind of
many.
stunning, isn't it?
Yeah, she talks about so many things in this book that my jaw's like, I can't pick it up off the floor fast enough.
Hey, fabulous Drinks with the Girls listeners. Guess what? We have something exciting happening here at Drinks with the Girls. We have a way for you, our listeners, to be involved. We would love you to be a part of our Drinks with the Girls support team. Creating a sisterhood of empowered women is our goal, and we are so grateful you are here. But we need your help to grow this incredible community that we have a big and bountiful vision for.
You can help us get the word out about Drinks with the Girls because we want all women to feel the support of our powerful community behind them. Here's what you need to do. Go to your favorite podcast platform and subscribe or follow Drinks with the Girls if you haven't already. We need you to share every episode we put out.
We would love for you to do this, especially when a particular episode resonates with you and or brings to mind someone you care about that you think would benefit from listening to it. Share with a girlfriend via text, share to your email newsletter, share on your socials, share from the rooftop. Every share is a chance for all women around the world to feel connected and supported by our Drinks with the Girls sisterhood.
The other thing you can do is officially join our Pod Squad email list. That will help you in two ways. First off, every time a new episode drops, you'll get an email with info on the topic, so it reminds you to tune in and listen with an easy-to-follow link. But it's also an easy format to hit forward on and share with some of your favorite people so they can easily access the newest episode. That link is always included in our show notes for you.
We are so excited to have you as part of the Drinks with the Girls Pod Squad support team. We are all in this together. Cheers!
Cheers! She says, even if I'm not looking for romance, the way men receive me is noteworthy because the patriarchy is real. We knew it.
Mm-hmm.
When men stop noticing you, it's a pretty good indicator of how the world at large is going to treat you. And I'm flabbergasted at the audacity of people.
And there's listeners, there's like a dozen more where that came from in the book.
Okay, Lisa, listeners, who can relate with this quote? Brooke says, the messaging I'm getting is that by 50, we're finished. I believe I still have so much more to give. Yet I'm being turned down and overlooked and dismissed everywhere I go. It's like you had a good run, but now you've got one foot in the grave. She says she's been insecure her whole life and is finally feeling good in her own skin. And so because of these feelings that she's had, she actually, on the encouragement of one of her friends, she created her hair care line, Commence, which I've never heard of. Had you
I know.
heard of it
I'm like,
before?
no, I haven't. And I'm like, I need to try it.
Yes. So she has all these hair care products. And so it's hair care products and a quote unquote place to start the dialogue to better understand how other women her age are feeling. So she also wanted to build this community and start the discussion. Her goal is to create a safe platform for women over 40 to speak about how they feel and how this era is treating them. And this fucking lights me up. What do you think? Thoughts?
I really love this. I just keep thinking, oh my God, Brooke, come on the podcast. I know we sound ridiculous, but too bad. We're not ridiculous.
We can dream.
Yeah.
We can dream.
And I have been a fan for a while. I mean, we've all been fans our whole life, let's be real. But when I first kind of locked in on her was when I read her book on postpartum depression, which is called Down Came the Rain. And in my world, anyone who uses their celebrity to lift others up and shine the light on something that lives in the shadows, they are my people. You know, I love the story that she talks about this book. In this book, she's written, I guess, 3. I hadn't I hadn't heard of the second one. And she says, she talks about Tom Cruise's reaction to that first book. And he basically just talked out his ass about mental health and women postpartum. And then later on gives her this like half-assed, gaslit filled apology. Now, I have not been a fan of his for a while now, so that didn't exactly do much to improve my image of him.
Okay, almost time to wrap up, but we cannot talk about this book without talking about Pretty Baby, the documentary. Did you see it, Lisa?
I haven't seen it yet, but I definitely want to. Her description and her openness about this idea that the movie Pretty Baby both started the conversation about how we have been sexualizing young girls and victimized her as a person at the same time was super powerful to me.
For sure. And she talks about it in the book, how like her piece of this, her role in continuing this narrative of, you know, what society is doing with girls. And I watched it a while ago. And so I pulled up the trailer today because I wanted to refresh my memory. And I was like, there were a couple passages in there that just like shook me. And one of them was sexualization of little girls, i.e. Brooke at the time, right? Was in response to feminism. Society says, okay, women, if you are not going to be traditionally feminine, we're going to replace you with little girls. And that fucking made my skin crawl.
Oh, God, that's
I was flabbergasted, you know? And I think that the documentary is I can see how it's a precursor to the book because it was really just about her process of finding her voice and allowing, she says, now I'm allowed to be a human being where she was an object for so long.
Yeah, I got to put that on my watch list.
Oh, you definitely do. Definitely do. The other thing that struck me was somebody said what happened to Brooke isn't about her as an individual. It's about women. And so I just think when you start looking at it through that lens and like what is happening, I mean, not to mention her mother. Like,
yeah, that's a whole other thing.
Exactly. But just, it is amazing that this woman came out as grounded and seemingly, you know, regular as she is because, man, it's amazing she survived at all.
It's interesting because the second book that she wrote is about her relationship with her mother. And I don't know that I want to read it because I just kind of feel like it'll just piss me off. To be honest, you know, I mean, she's obviously processed it and come to terms with it, but
she's gracious in this book to her mom. I mean, she says she's an alcoholic, right? But she doesn't really say anything but yeah, that book would be interesting, but I'm kind of with you. I don't know if I want to read it.
Yeah.
So final thoughts. What was your favorite? And I know it's hard because there's so many, but what was your favorite quote from the book? I'm going to go first. Let me ask you a question and then not let you answer.
You do that. Yes, it's all good.
Mine was from early on in the book, right after she talked about the whole Tom Cruise thing. And she talks about trusting herself and prioritizing herself. And she said, who knew in a career where I started as a prostitute at age 11, where I played a mother at age 15, that valuing myself at age 59 would be my most provocative choice.
I'm trying to remember, what was the role where she played a mother at 15? Was that, that was Blue Lagoon.
Blue Lagoon, yeah. Remember she got pregnant, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, and I remember because I can't remember what the guy's name is in there. Chris something or other.
Chris Atkins.
Yeah.
I went to high school with Jeff Atkins. I was going to say Jeff Atkins, but no, Chris Atkins, I think.
Yes. He actually went to my middle school, not when I was there. And I remember talking to one of my teachers and we were all like, what was he like? You know, where is he now? Nowhere. So
maybe we can get him on the podcast.
Maybe we can get him on
80s.
Yeah, the 80s episode's doing really well. So if you're a washed up 80s star and you want to come on the podcast, like if that's
I just pulled him up to make sure that was his right name. Yeah. He looks the same, just older. He still has like 80s blonde feathered hair.
Yep. Okay, squirrel. At any rate, so yeah, there were a lot of quotes that I love, but I would say that probably my favorite is literally the back cover. And obviously y'all can't see this. Someday we'll do a video podcast. So on, the front cover is her posed. And then on the back, it's one of those like Barbie Miss America heads that you could like do makeup on and style, right? This is like the big thing in the late 70s and the 80s. Like I had one, I'm sure everybody did. And on the top, it says what people are saying about Brooke Shields, right? And it's the kind of thing where people that are given an advanced copy of the book would read it and then they'd put like nice quotes in there. And so you're like expecting that, right? But instead, it's all these nasty things that have been said in the press and social media about her, specifically about her aging, half of which is complete bullshit, right? So my favorite is at the top, it says, she doesn't look this young any longer. Like, no shit.
Oh my
Like,
God.
for God's sake, she's 59, right? And the fact that society holds her accountable for that is just, it's ridiculous. And then literally on that same cover, a couple of quotes down, are some accusing her of having bad plastic surgery. Like, she can't win, right? And
She can't win.
No, and bravo to her for feeling comfortable enough to put that on the cover. Like, she shows up with so much sass in this book, and I'm so here for it. I love it.
I love it because she's like, you fuckers are assholes. I'm going to put you on my back cover.
Right? Like, you know, that guy in the wine cellar is like, wait, well, oh no, she did.
Totally. It's like that quote, like, if you didn't want me to tell people or whatever, you shouldn't have acted so poorly or something like that.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. But moral of the story, aging is not something to fear. It's something to own. I mean, it's our freaking encore, right? And I think thanks to Brooke, we have one more woman fiercely, vulnerably, and authentically just showing us how it's done.
Yeah. And one of my other favorite moments in the book is she describes this moment when a room full of women started clapping. I think it might have been at one of the premieres of her A Pretty Baby. I could be wrong. But they start clapping, and not because they agreed, but they realized that they weren't alone in dealing with this, right? And she said every time she's spoken up about, maybe it wasn't her premiere, I don't know, but every time she's spoken up about women's issues, right? Postpartum depression, aging, confidence, she's been struck by the community that forms around that. And hello, what does that remind you of?
Hello. That is exactly our goal here at Drinks with the Girls with this podcast, because aging, reinvention, finding your voice and using it, stepping into your power, whatever, it's a lot easier when you know you're not doing it alone.
We could talk forever about this and stalk Brooke Shields. Brooke, if you're listening, seriously, give us a call. Call us.
We love you, Brooke.
We love you, Brooke. Oh, man. So that's it for today. If you love this conversation, hit subscribe, leave us a review, share this episode with your best girlfriends. Y'all, we are watching this in real time, and it's like, it's so exciting. And not just like, it's not like, yes, it's exciting for us, but it's not about us. It's about this idea that we have struck a nerve in this community, and you all are responding to that. And that is just, it's great.
I feel like it's lighting a match, and you're starting this little fire, and at first it was just barely like burning, and now it's like taking off, and it's exciting to watch. And I'm sorry I used such a destructive analogy.
It's fine. And actually, one of the reviews we got was a great review. We loved it, but she talks about, like, finally, she says, it's like real women, not influencers. And I was like, oh my God, that's the vibe we're going through, right?
And, we love it when you guys leave us reviews. So leave us some reviews, but also, connect with us. Like, send us a DM. We're on Instagram. We're on Pinterest. We're on Facebook. We have a website. Like, there's so many ways you can reach out and just let us know, what you're thinking about, if you have any suggestions for the podcast, or even if you have constructive criticism, like maybe there's something that we're doing that, we could improve on. We're open to that as well. We would love it when you connect with us, because that's how we know, like Lisa said, that our whole mission is resonating with you guys. And, we would love for you to let us know what's one of your fuck it era moments. Mm-hmm. And just DM us so we can keep the conversation going.
Because God knows we want to share those.
That's right.
All right, y'all. Until next time, listeners, cheers.
Cheers.